Today I will show you my method for making the best jungle vines for your vivarium. What is great about this method of making vines is you can scale it to any size you want. They are much bigger and stronger than other vine making methods out there, and so can be used for climbing by bigger and active animals like my tree monitor here. Alright, this is how to make the best jungle vines. Let's get started. Here is what you will need to make the vines. The first step is to decide what size you would like your vines to be, and prepare the materials for that size. For my vine, I want it to be at least 1.5 meters or 5 feet long when it is completed. You will lose about half of the length of the hose and wire from the process, so I will double that measurement. To make it easier, I have measured 1 meter or 3.2 feet using the end of my table and a piece of tape. I used that to measure the hose 3 times to get the length of 3 meters or 9.8 feet for each hose I cut. For this vine, I will use 4 hose pieces. I then use the same measuring technique for the wire that will go inside the hose, but I add an extra 30 centimeters or 1 foot to the end of each wire I cut. This is so there is enough wire to come out from either end to create a place to hang and mount the vines. Once the wires are cut, it's time to put them through the garden hoses. It's easiest if you can hold the hose straightened out either with someone helping you or with a clamp. Now we can start creating the vine structure. Start by twisting the wires together to help it hold for now. We will tidy it up and work on this more later. To combine the hoses, we need to braid them together. To braid, the technique is to use 3 lengths and take turns with pulling the right and left sides over the top of the length that is in the middle. For this vine, I am using 4 hoses, so to braid in 3s, I need to be holding 2 of the hoses as if they were a single hose when doing the technique. As you can see, the braiding can be difficult in the beginning as the long lengths are getting tangled and need to be pulled out as you move along. It does get easier the more you progress towards the end of each vine. Using this method, you can create vines of any thickness using however many hoses you want. I made myself multiple vines with different thicknesses for my vivarium, and I highly recommend doing it. Because I used 4 lengths of hose to braid in 3s, some excess was produced. Simply cut the excess off so they are all the same size. Making vines with a number of 3 or 6 lengths of hose will avoid this. With the hoses now braided, we need to tidy up those wires and create a loop so that the vines can be easily mounted. I do this by wrapping the wires tightly around each other with pliers, creating a loop for hanging, and then further tightening and pushing the wire back into the hoses to hide the pointy ends. Just make sure that your loop is strong and can support the weight. The end product is quite heavy if using 4 or more hoses. With the braiding and wire ends fixed, now we can do some twisting to the structure which really helps to create a more natural jungle vine shape. When you include the wire inside the hoses for making the vines, you can bend, twist and manipulate it to the shape you want. And now for the main event. Let's turn some twisted garden hoses into a naturalistic jungle vine. To do this, I will be using elastomer, a 2-part polyurethane adhesive. The container has 2 parts, a hardener and a resin. When it is packaged like this, the correct amount of hardener to resin is included, so make sure you get it all in there and then begin mixing. It is often used for vivarium and terrarium backgrounds, and is a better option than using something like silicone in my opinion. Once you have combined the resin and hardener, you have about 45 minutes to work with the product before it thickens too much and becomes unworkable. That's why it's really important that everything is set up before you mix it. Have your work area ready and everything that you need before you mix it. The colour of the elastomer is quite unnatural looking, so a brown pigment powder is added and mixed well again. Now to apply the elastomer. I tried multiple methods and the best that worked for me was to use my hands whilst wearing gloves. You want to cover all of the visible hose and try to fill in the gaps and spaces as best you can. You will also want to cover the garden wire at the ends of it to hide them and fill in the hose holes. This can be very messy. Make sure your work environment is protected and that you don't care about stains, because this stuff will ruin anything it touches. Wear old clothes you don't care about and protect your skin as much as possible. In hindsight, I would have used better rubber kitchen gloves instead of these thin plastic ones. If it gets on your skin, you can't wash it off, and will enjoy stains on your skin for more than a week or two. Trust that I am speaking from personal experience. Because the product needs to be used quickly once mixed, if you do want to make more than one vine, you should have those prepared and ready to go. Do your best to check and look over it from every angle to make sure you cover it completely. With the elastomer applied and still sticky, we use a mix of coconut fiber and soil to now coat the vines. I don't have an exact ratio, but a few handfuls of dry soil to coconut fiber works well. You could use other substrates if you want, but what is most important here is that the substrates are completely dry or it will not stick properly. It can get quite dusty, so I recommend using a mask. Do your best to check that you have applied the cocoa soil mix to all of the surfaces. Once left to cure and dry, we shake off and remove the excess fiber and dirt from our new vines. This part is optional, but I like to go over the vines with a blowtorch. It helps to remove some of the longer excess fibers, and I also liked how it scorches the surface a little bit. To mount the vines, I have used screw hooks in the frame and roof of my Vivaria for the wire loops to sit onto. And here is the result. I really like how these vines turned out. They not only look great, but they are strong, durable, and they can be used for climbing by much larger animals than other vine making methods out there. I made many vines with different thicknesses so that I could entangle them together and create an interesting jungle scene here in my vivarium. But what do you think? Do you like how these vines turned out? Maybe you feel inspired and you want to try it yourself. Let me know in the comments below. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have there too. And if you did enjoy the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I will be uploading regularly, and I have so much more that I want to share with all of you. Oh, and if you haven't seen it yet, check out my video of how I created this huge reptile vivarium from start to finish. I will put a link on the screen now. So thank you for watching, and I hope that you will join me in the next one.